Hey, it's Miguel. Welcome back with another video. If this is your first time tuning into my channel, thanks for stopping by. If you clicked on this video, you're probably wondering a couple things about Accutane. You're probably dealing with acne or whatever the case may be, and you probably have a couple questions about Accutane. So hopefully after watching this video, you're a little bit more educated on it, and I'll do my best to explain to you guys how it went for me and so forth without making the video too lengthy. So let's go ahead and dive right in. First things first, I just want to give you guys a quick little background about my acne history. My acne began back when I was in junior high, probably somewhere around the end of 7th grade, beginning 8th grade. It began on my face, but before I knew it, by my freshman year of high school, I noticed that the acne has spread to my chest, shoulders, and you know, a little bit creeping down my back area. At this point, I knew my acne was getting a lot more serious than I would have imagined. I wasn't just dealing with it on my face, but as I mentioned, farther down here in this area. And yeah, it was not fun. As I progressed through my 20s, the acne on my chest, shoulders, and shoulder area was not really slowing down, maybe just a tad. Sometimes it was getting worse, sometimes it was getting a little better. But the one thing that did get dramatically better by the time I was about 20 years old or 19 was my face. The acne on my face had pretty much nearly gone away, other than dealing with small blemishes or small breakouts here and there. By the time I progressed to the age of where I'm at now, the only area where I was really getting acne anywhere near my face was around the lower neck area here, occasional breakouts here and there, but nothing directly on my face. During this time, I was still dealing with acne on my chest, shoulders, and I was like, you know what? Enough is enough. I have to seek help from a dermatologist again and see what my other options may be. So fast forward now, I'm currently 25 years old. I began Accutane at 25 years old. It was my first time finding out what it is. So let's go ahead and explain what Accutane is and how it helped me. So Accutane is pretty much the most powerful acne drug that a dermatologist will prescribe to you. Typically, Accutane will only be prescribed to you if the dermatologist pretty much deems that your acne is that severe. In my case, looking at my face, she did not think my acne was that bad, but the second I showed her my chest and shoulder area, you can see where I'm truly dealing with acne. By the time I got on Accutane, the acne was not too severe, but I was still dealing with cystic acne on my chest and shoulder area. And so she recommended it, and at this point, the acne had already done a lot of damage and left a lot of scarring behind. So I began the medication by beginning December, and I want to say it probably took maybe a month at most for me to notice any results at all. When I began the medication, as I said, I noticed results right away. I did not deal with some of the typical stuff that you hear where you might get worse before you can get better. I honestly just got better right away. I started noticing my chest and shoulders clearing up dramatically, and all I can really begin to notice was just the scarring that has been done from the acne throughout all the other years before that. The one side effect that was probably the toughest one to deal with is dry lips. You will deal with dry lips. It is the one side effect that I can promise you everyone that's been on Accutane deals with. So you're gonna want to keep a chapstick with you at all times, because occasionally I would forget it and it is like the worst thing ever. Your lips are cracking. Like, my lips were literally falling off. I practically had no lips. So trust me, keep that. Find whatever chapstick works best for you and stick with that, and buy plenty of them, any backups that you may need in case you lose them. Because I can't tell you how many times I occasionally lost them and then found them again later, whatever the case may be. So during my time on Accutane, I was put on it for a total of 6 months. To be honest, I probably would have been fine being off of the medication a lot sooner than that. But just for the drug to really do what it's intended to do and help prevent my acne from coming back, I wrote out the entire 6 months. Now, it's totally up to the dermatologist how long they recommend for you to stay on the medication. On the severity of your acne is pretty much going to play a role in how long you are on it. Some people may be on the medication as maybe less than 6 months. Some may be on it longer. If I still had acne by my 6-month mark, she was going to keep me on it for another month and so forth. So some people can be on the medication a lot longer, again, depending on how severe their acne is. But in my case, it was just the 6 months. I noticed I was pretty much completely clear of acne, probably already halfway through. So let's go ahead and talk about some side effects other than the dry lips. I want to say the only thing that I did notice other than dry lips, it was not severe at all, was I want to say my knees were aching a little bit, but nothing that was getting in the way of my daily activities and my regular exercise. And that actually is one of the side effects, and some people may not experience any other side effects other than dry lips. But for my case, I think my knees were just aching just a tiny bit, and I like to play soccer and things like that, so probably in my case it was just a bit easier for me to notice. Another side effect that I noticed, it was pretty much towards the end of my time on Accutane. I was pretty much beginning to wrap up my last month and a half on the medication, and what I noticed was on my back thigh area, on both legs, I started noticing that I was having these red like bumps, pretty much a rash, spreading down my leg. I didn't think too much of it. I knew I was pretty much already wrapping up the medication, and I kind of didn't really let it bother me too much. The dermatologist does say, and the drug says as well, that that if you do notice any type of rash, anything out of the ordinary, to let them know right away, because you may have to stop taking the medication right away. I did end up bringing it up to my dermatologist, but by then I was pretty much already done, so there wasn't really anything to do after that. The third side effect, other than the chapped lips, that I did notice was pretty much during my first month or two on the medication. I noticed near my wrist area here in these regions, literally on both arms, I was creating, well, not creating, excuse me, I was beginning to, I began to develop some eczema. I didn't know it was eczema. I've never had eczema my whole life. I just thought it was, you know, just some sort of rash. But it turned out to be eczema. I found out because I would visit with a dermatologist once a month. So when I showed her on my following appointment, she noticed it was eczema. Now, I've never suffered for eczema throughout my entire life. It was just a side effect that the medication was creating. But it literally ended up going away on its own. I did practically nothing. I just think that was my body initially still kind of getting used to the medication and dealing with small changes. Now, as far as taking the medication goes, I began my first month taking only 1 pill a day. By my second month and all the other months following through with that, it was 2 pills a day. And pretty much I decided to take my pill every 12 hours. So pretty much, you know, depending on how my day goes, I would take it after breakfast, and then I would take the next one during dinner. But most of the time, sometimes I wouldn't take it during breakfast, to be quite honest. I would take it during lunch, and then I would take the second one typically sometime after dinner. I don't know if it really does matter if you need to space them out, or if you can take them both back to back. So I would recommend asking your dermatologist and see what they recommend. But in my case, I ended up just taking them pretty much 12 hours apart, and I was just fine. If you do miss pills, it's not the most best thing to do, because then you tend to start to fall behind on your medication. Now let's talk about the aftermath after being on Accutane. I continued and currently am seeking help from a dermatologist to help smoothen out my scarring that has been caused from the acne over all these years. So pretty much what I am being given right now are injections on the scars. Forgive me, I don't know exactly what the name of the drug is, but pretty much what it does is the dermatologist will pretty much, you know, give you an injection where your scar is, And what this does is it'll help flatten it out, it'll help smoothen it out, and it shouldn't take too many times for this until the scar pretty much completely flattens out as much as possible. Over a month after being on the medication, I finally went to my first appointment to receive injections in my scars. To be honest, it does hurt. If you do not have a great pain tolerance, it's probably going to be pretty tough for you to bear if you are in the same boat as I am and you want your scars to be flattened. I want to say receiving an injection into a scar is more painful than just a typical injection into your arm. The dermatologist did ask me if I needed to take any breaks. That was fine, but I would like to say that my pain tolerance is actually pretty good. So I just pretty much powered through it, and at the end of the day, I really want these scars to go away, so I don't really care how much it hurt. So pretty much if you are going to be receiving these sorts of injections, you will be doing it once a month until the dermatologist deems that you do not need it anymore. A little background story: I was actually receiving these injections when I was 18, 19 years old, even though my acne was never fully gone. But ever since then, I had moved out of town and I stopped seeing a dermatologist. My dermatologist in this case wanted my acne to be pretty much completely gone before they proceeded with these types of injections. That's pretty much everything I can think of as far as my story with Accutane. If you guys have any questions, feel free to just leave a comment. I will do my best to answer them. I talked about, side effects that I know you guys would be curious about. I talked about how many pills I was taking per day, how long I was on the medication for, and yeah. So pretty much that is that. And yeah, the Accutane does work 110%. So if your acne is severe enough or you just want to get rid of it, I highly encourage you to seek a dermatologist. And just a disclaimer, I am not a professional in any shape or form. I am not a dermatologist, nor a doctor, nor a scientist, you name it. I am just a person who was prescribed the drug and went through it, so I thought I would just kind of share my Accutane story with you guys. I hope you guys found this video helpful, and thanks for tuning in.